So I'm going to show you guys now how I attach my bolt snaps onto my backup lamps. For sure, the reason for the bolt snap is to attach it to a D-ring if it was going to be, let's say, on a chest harness. I also use it if it's inside my pouch or my dry suit pocket onto one of the loops in there. But actually I'm using this particular lamp on my cave helmet, which has a looper bungee on the back to attach it to. The cord, this is just standard nylon braided cave line, so you can go and buy yourselves a reel of that stuff, or you can buy some slightly funkier multicolored stuff or primary colored stuff, which I have to admit I like. It makes the equipment stand out in the kit bag. So what I'm going to show you now is just how to modify, let's say the bolt snap broke, or I decide that the gate isn't working very well and I want to put a brand new one. And so what I'm going to try and do as well is coordinate the equipment a little bit as well. So I'm just going to cut the old piece off. And let's pull these pieces out. Okay, there's the string, there's the bolt. So I'm actually not going to use this. I'm going to put that out to one side, and I'm going to use the standard, my standard funky orange line. Okay, now the amount of line that you're going to need, it's going to vary a little bit based on how many loops through you're going to create. So I'm not going to measure out any line, but I'm just going to keep the line on a piece of reel. What I'm going to try and do now is just show you the method that I'm using, and it's just really to make a number of loops through the bolt snap. And if you can see, there's always usually some kind of slot on the torch. So there's no real science to this part. This is just about making a number of loops, and depending on how large the hole in the lamp is, you can usually get about 3 loops to go through. What's quite good to try to do is to keep the pieces of the loop from not crossing over, and that just really makes it a little bit tidier. But the first time you push them through, don't worry too much about that, because you can always take any crosses out before we make a knot and cinch it tight. So I think I might be lucky and just be able to get 4 knots in there. So just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm just going to cut some of this off so that can be out of the way. Okay. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the 2 pieces here, and I'm going to try to get, and if you take a look, you can see there's some crosses here, and all I'm going to do is just run them so that they're nicely in line. So with this coloured line, it's actually flat and not round. It actually makes it a lot harder to stay in line because the pieces, they fold over each other. So you can just do a little bit of work and just get those lined up like this. And it doesn't make really a lot of difference to the integrity of it. It's just really about how neat you want the thing to look. So once you've run the loops, what you have to do, I'm going to use my thumb just to hold the pieces together. I'm going to come back up and run one more around the front, because I'm going to do a 2-stage knot. I have to cross the pieces over at the front and then bring them back round to the back. So I'm just adding some tension and making sure that's nice and snug. So what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to cross these pieces over, and that's how they're going to come. So one piece will come under and they'll cross, and then keeping the tension on, I fold them over the underside. And what I want to do is make sure that I've got still the tension in place. So pull the pieces to the side, nice and snug. And I'm now going to create what we call a reef knot in Boy Scouts. So you can see that I've got 2 pieces on the right side and the left side. So we're going to take the right side and we're going to cross that over the top of the left. Now you can lose a bit of tension here, so it's important that when these pieces come down, you want to make sure that you pull that again nice and tight. Now what you've got, you can put your thumb on here or your finger on here to stop the knot coming undone. This is on the left, but it was the original right hand side. And of course this was the original left hand side. So you're still going to take the right over the left, but it's the original right, and this is where it's quite easy to go wrong. So we can cross those over, bring that underneath, and our second knot comes into place. Here it is. And again, pull it nice and tight. And then what we should be able to see is that we should be able to see the shape of the reef knot, the two loops on either side. Now that's there, what I can do, I can trim this up, and I'm just going to take 1, 2, and you can see that I've got the bigger part of the knot on the inside. It doesn't make a lot of difference, it just means that it's slightly smoother on the outside. So I'm now going just to cinch the ends, but it's important that when I do that, I don't actually burn any other part of the line. I don't want to compromise the knot itself. So just applying a little bit of heat to the tip, you can see it starts to melt, and then I can push it into itself there. And now come across onto this side, push that into there, and now here's the knot. Give it a test by pulling it. No way for me that's coming off, and then what you can now see, I have a brand new bolt snap, nice and smooth, and that's the finished article.